Well, students, good evening to all of you. So, guys, today we will discuss our paper 10 of B.Ed second year. Correct? So, the name of the paper is Creating an Inclusive School. Right, guys? So, this is a notes. This is a PDF file. About 80 pages. Right? I have shared with you. So we will study, we will clear our concept with the help of the PPT and as well as for the notes. Okay. Because my purpose is to clear your concept today and, notes also. Okay. So this is a creating an inclusive school. Okay. First, see the syllabus. Right. I have always told you, okay, go through the syllabus first. The first step is the syllabus. Right. See your syllabus. Creating an inclusive school. I little bit zoom out so that it should be readable for you. Now I think it is a readable, huh? Creating an inclusive school. Okay. See the unit 1. Under the unit 1, it is written inclusive education. Okay. अपने मन में बोलो inclusive education, right? So under the inclusive education, you have to do meaning, nature, need, and philosophy of inclusive education, right? You can see this inclusive education. Now, under the inclusive education, there are the three things you have to do, right? These are the three things. What are the three things? Number one is models of inclusion, right? This is the most important. Okay. If you have copy and pen, please write it. Models are most important. 100% the question would come from the models of inclusion. Okay. Second is barrier to learning and participation. Means what are the barriers? Okay. In the way of implementing the model. Number one. And second, sometime questions can come. What are the barriers for implementing the inclusive education? Got it? Next, implementation and strategies for inclusive in society and school. Right? And after second one is constitutional safeguard or constitutional provisions, government policies and practices. So under the constitutional provision, yeah, constitutional safeguard, there are two things, right? You have to remember. Number one is Disability Act. Okay. This is a Disability Act of a 2006. National Policy of Person with Disability Act 2006. Second is Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan in terms of inclusive education. All right. It is a very simple. Don't worry. I'll clear the concept. Today, this concept would be clear to you. Okay. Give me only 1 hour. Right. Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan in terms of inclusive educations. I need your attention. Okay. Only for the 1 hour. And I promise with you, the concept would be clear to you. Right. Even all the notes also. Right. Second is psychosocial and educational characteristics, functional limitations. Means role of a family, community with reference to locomotor impairment, hearing impairment, visual impairment, learning impairment, and mental retardation. राइट सारा क्लियर करता हूं डोंट वेरी अभी जस्ट सी द सिलेबस तो ये आपका यूनिट 1 है ओके दिस इज अ यूनिट 1 two questions would come long questions you have to attempt to one right second is unit 2 under the unit 2 the topic is inclusive practices in classroom okay under the inclusive practices in classroom there are 5 subheadings. First is school readiness and support services. Second, at teacher competencies, role of school teacher and resource teacher in inclusive education. ये देखो बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है. Role of class teacher and resource teachers in inclusive education. Third is guidance and counseling in inclusive education. Next, teaching learning strategies in inclusive education, cooperative learning, peer tutoring, social learning, multi-sensory learning. Or last is individual educational program and use of emerging technology. Okay. So this is a syllabus. So you should know syllabus first. So guys, you have noticed that, in whole of the syllabus, it is talking about the inclusive education. Okay. Basically, please mute yourself, guys. Please mute yourself. There is a voice is coming every time. Na, I always request you, please mute yourself, right? So, in this paper, creating an inclusive school, okay. So, this paper of the inclusive education, inclusive school, right? Means, first of all, you should know about the inclusive education. Number second, what are the barriers? What are the factors, right? Uh, which creates obstacle in the way of implementing the inclusive education, right? Third is model of inclusion, right? Then constitutional safeguard, and then after that, inclusive practices in classroom, right? So, guys, next we see our last year paper, huh? As you know that, because in the last year paper, mostly all the syllabus covers in the last year paper. Okay, so you have seen. So in the last year paper, you can see that this is the last year paper, creating an inclusive school. So under the compulsory question, two questions came. What are the questions? Nature of inclusive education, factors affecting school readiness for inclusive education. तो आप ये देखो, if the concept is inclusive education is clear to you, okay, you can fill many pages over there. Okay, the concept should be clear. So I'll clear your concept. So second देखो unit 1 में I have already told you ना, the models are important. ये देखो, explain different models of inclusive. What are the barriers responsible for successful implementation of these models? Okay, so here we will talk about models of inclusive education. And next question has come, define the concept of hearing impairment. ये देखिए third one, concept of hearing impairment. Discuss the special educational programs required for such kind of a children with suitable example. तो अभी now this year, this is the last year paper. So here what the examiner would come. तो हल्का इसको change कर देगा बस, otherwise same questions would come. Unit 2 में you can see that describe cooperative learning as a strategy for inclusive setting. And fifth is write a detailed note on the role of general class teacher and resource teacher in inclusive education. Give suitable example for each. Go in every question, na, the concept is inclusive education is using. That's why na, I told you every time, clear your concept. Okay, do not mug up the concept, because this will remain to whole life in your mind if the concept is clear. So guys, we start our lecture with the help of a PPT. Then after the PPT, we will directly go to the notes. Okay, so I'm opening the PPT off. So I have made a PPT for you for this paper, creating an inclusive school, right? So this is your paper 10, creating an inclusive school. Okay, so first we understand the concept of inclusive education. Okay, see this slide. Okay, what you guess in your mind, what you think in your mind. Okay, see this slide. Every picture, there are 3 pictures over there. Okay, some students are normal student, some are handicapped. Okay, some are special students, okay, having some problem. Okay, some have you can see that some are wearing the spectacles, to having the eyes problem, visual impairment, right? You can see that now. So okay, so what is inclusive education? Now we come on our concept inclusive education. So guys, inclusive education means, or sometimes we also call it inclusion. Okay. What is inclusive education? It is a such kind of education that includes everyone. Okay. Everyone means with non-disabled and disabled people, including those with special educational needs, learning together in a mainstream schools, colleges, and universities. Okay. So inclusiveness of education states that a normal student and a differently abled should get equal opportunity to get the educations to meet the special educational need. Okay. So what is inclusive education means? In a simple way, the meaning of inclusive education means when a normal student, normal child, or normal child, okay, having some special needs, for example, he is physically handicapped, okay, visually impairment, okay. So when the normal student and disabled people, every kind of a student, when they learn together under a single roof, okay, that class is known as inclusive class. Should I repeat it? When in a class, when there is a number of students, okay, irrespective of, some are, having, physical handicap student over there, visually impairment student over there, hearing impairment student over there, right? किसी को बहुत कम सुन रहा है, किसी को कम दिखाई देता है, ओके, एक नॉर्मल स्टूडेंट है, when every type of student, they come together under a single roof, under a same class, and taught by the same teacher. This class is known as inclusive class. Got it? So, inclusiveness of education states that, okay, see in the slide, inclusiveness of education states that normal student and a differently abled should get equal opportunity to get the education to meet the special educational needs. Okay. Definitions kya hai? Some of the educationists have talked about inclusive education release new dimensions, not only of learning, however, of specialized learning. Okay. Next dekhiye. Inclusive education is that. Inclusive education is that education during which general student and special student. Okay. The word, I'm using the special. What is the meaning of a special student? Special student means that student having some problem, might be, okay, he is or she is handicapped, okay, visually impairment, hearing impairment, कम दिखाई देता है, कम सुनाई देता है, ओके, मतलब that needs special education, that needs special need. उन स्टूडेंट्स को, those students are called the special student. Okay. So when the general students means normal student, and the special student get an education along with the same faculty with no discrimination, this is called the inclusiveness. Got it, guys? ये देखो अभी तक स्टूडेंट्स आ रहे हैं. अब now question arises, what is the need of an inclusive education? So always, guys, whenever you have to clear your concept, start with the need. What is the need of that particular problem? Okay. So what is the need of an inclusive education? The need of an inclusive education is necessary for every country. Okay. So guys, ye dekhna, this problem, okay, it is in every country. And I tell you, you can say this is you can say this is our bad luck, or this is our main problem. Since independence, we are ignoring the special students. We are ignoring the special students. Think yourself, when you are teaching in the class, okay, in your class, special students ask the questions many times, you get irritated. Why you get irritated? This is your job, right? He or she has the same right like the other students having the right. And this is a, you can say that, a bitter truth. We are ignoring the special education students since independence. But in the next slides, okay, in the coming slides, I will show you that being disabled, they have done wonders. Okay. So guys, do not stop putting the label on the students कि ये तो नालायक है. Okay, he cannot do anything. Now we do that under the what is the need of an inclusive education. The need of inclusive education is necessary for every country because there are many such children who are different from the normal child. Naturally, in every country it happens. They are given education together because the ability of learning can be increased in those children. However, the first point, first bullet, provides what is the need of inclusive education. Need kya hai? What is the need? All right. Need kya hai? Number one, provides an opportunity for children in which disabled children get opportunity to progress mentally along with normal children. Next need kya hai? Both normal and handicapped children take education together normally, due to which a natural environment is created between them, which develops a sense of unity, brotherhood, and equality among the children. Emotions like learning and social competence are also developed in children through it. In today's era, it has special importance because only this education can bring change in today's society. Guys, देखो, the most important line है. Okay. In today's era, it has special importance because only this type of education, which type of education? Inclusive education, where we do not discriminate any kind of the student. We give respect to every kind of a student, irrespective of he is normal or he is abnormal. Right? So it should be encouraged more and more. Such kind of inclusive education should be encouraged more and more. Have you seen in the schools? Now in every school, it is mandatory. If the school having the first floor, second floor, okay, along with the stair, school should have the ramp also. Okay, ramp for the handicapped student. Okay, how the handicapped student will go to the first floor and second floor? And when the IC member, okay, in your school, okay, during when you are, working on the land and you are opening a new school, and it is an important instruction when the inspection committee comes to check out the school, he checks the ramp also. If the ramp is not in the school will not get the affiliation. Correct? Not only the ramp, there are so many things. There are so many devices, right? If in your class, okay, some students having the hearing impairment, okay, visually impairment, means उनको कम दिखाई देता है, उनको कम सुनाई देता है. Guys, this is the duty of the school. Should have such kind of a equipment, right? Like FM, equipments and other equipments. With the help of those equipments, visually impairment student or a hearing impairment student can listen the lecture same like the other student listens. Okay, so such kind of a devices you should have in this school. It is mandatory and it is checked in this school. And in fact, बात यहीं पे खत्म नहीं हो जाती है. In fact, you should have the special educator in your school. Okay, in your school, general teacher teach to the general students. Mostly we have seen that. But if the students are the special students, They need the special attentions. Then this is the duty of the school to appoint a special educator also to cater the need of the special education students. Got it? Right? So there is no need to make the special schools. Are you getting my point? If the students are, they need the special attention. Okay, first clear the concept of a special students. Who are special students? Those, those need the special attention. If they are physically handicapped, if they are visually handicapped, visually impairment, if they are hearing impairment, okay, these all the student comes under the category of a special student. Okay. And guys, you must know that for such kind of a student, there is no need to make special schools. Why to make a special schools? Tell me. Why to make special schools for such kind of a students? There is no need to make a special schools. Okay. When you make a special schools, they get the inferiority complex, right? They think that we are abnormal from the other students. This is the reason we are taught under a special schools. Okay, I ask from you in your home. Okay, in your home, in your kids, for example, you have the two kids. Okay, one kid having the problem. So what you will do that? You have to care that kid. Yeah, you will, remain isolate. You will not care of that your kid. You will give special attention, na? You think that, na? Your second kid, if having the problem, he or she also should learn in the same class with a normal student. You think, na? So why you do such kind of a things with the students also, right? So guys, it is written that research say that such kind of a education, inclusive education, it is a need of the hour. Okay, it takes the nation towards the development. Got it? This is the reason need of the inclusive education. Also, in place, ये देखो इस slide में, just see in the next slide. Also, in place of the old education system, the new education policy is being used in modern times. It is important to highlight that inclusive education does not accept a particular school or particular class. ये देखो, this is the most important. Inclusive education, it does not mean that you should have a separate school. You should have a separate class. Why to take a separate class? If the student is not, not clearing your concept, whatever you have taught. Okay. So guys, you have to prepare your lecture from that way. Because many times I have told you, class, what is class? Class, basically, it is a miniature of society. In your class, there is a average students over there. You would be agree with me. Okay. There are some intelligent students in your class. There are some below average students in your class. So this is your responsibility. You have to prepare a lecture like that. That lecture should be understood by the intelligent students, below average students, as well as special education students. Okay. So this is your problem. What you are doing that you are putting and you are labeling on the student. Is student having the low IQ level. That's why he cannot learn. Student having such kind of a problem, he cannot learn. In the parents teacher meetings, you do such kind of, you know, excuses, right? In front of the principal. The main thing is that you are not aware of you having the lack of teaching skills. That's why you do that. Because our policy, our research is saying that inclusive type of education is the need of the hour, right? You do not have to make a separate schools for the special students. If the student is disabled, if the student having the visually impairment, hearing impairment, having some problem, You have to teach to the student under the same class like you are teaching to the other students. Got it? So, inclusive education does not accept a particular school or a particular classroom. Now, separating disabled children from normal children is no longer valid. ये देखो, the important point. Separating disabled children from the normal children is no longer valid, as children with disabilities have the same right to participate in educational activities as normal children. Okay? अब ये देखो some of the examples. I want to show in my next slide some of the examples of the special education students, disabled students. I want to show you. See that. The first is Stephen Hawking. He was a disabled person. He was a special education student. But agar if we ignore such kind of student, so he has given the theory of exploding black holes. Quantum mechanics देखो इन्होंने दी है disabled student ने. Okay, that's why na guys, why this is the reason I tell you, student is never ever weak in this planet. Student कभी भी weak नहीं होता. Only the weak is teacher. Okay, if you all will not get the 80% marks, so you know I'm weak because I cannot teach up to that level. You couldn't get a 80% marks. Are you getting my point? You are never weak. Student is never ever weak, right? Next, see that Albert Einstein. Okay, he was also a disabled. He was also a special education student. German-born physicist था. He has given the theory of relativity, and he was a Nobel Prize winner for physics in 1921 for his explanation of the photoelectric effect. Okay, next में देखिए disabled, आगे देखिए John Clark. He was also, you know, handicapped person. Being handicapped, he has set his world record. वो देखो, do you know आज की डेट में इन today's, ओके, गिनीज वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड उस पर्सन का है जिसके दोनों ही टांगे नहीं है, प्लेट्स के ऊपर रन किया. सो जियोन क्लार्क, ओके, विदाउट द लेग्स, हु वाज बोर्न विदाउट लेग. ये देखो, इट इज रिटन जियोन क्लार्क हु वाज बोर्न विदाउट लेग बिकॉज ऑफ द रेयर जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर set the Guinness World Record for the fastest 20-meter walk on two hands. So देखो guys, being disabled, they have done wonders. Okay, so stop labeling the students that they cannot learn. Okay, problem is in yours. You have to work on your teaching methodology. You have to work on your, teaching skills. You have to work on your behavior, right? So you do not have to put the label of the student, they cannot learn. So being disabled, they have done wonders. Okay, now we do what are the features of inclusive teaching and learning? So when you teach the class, which is inclusive, so what are the features? Okay, number first, all students have an equal right to education. Next, classroom should be made up of a student with mixed abilities. Next, no children should be separated from main groups based on discrimination. Next, appropriate activities should be planned and each student's personal needs taken into consideration. Next, create an accessible environment, wheelchair, ramps, visual alternatives to lesson content for students with hearing impairment. Last, support should be provided to all students to assist and allow them to reach their full potential. Got it? Okay, next we do what is the importance of inclusive education. Kya hai importance? First, identify and determine the special needs of the various children free from physical defects. Next importance kya hai? Before they reach a serious condition, First of all measures should be taken for their prevention. And I stop my lecture here. Why to stop? Because second line is the most important. And I'm going to tell you one more bitter truth. Guys, sometimes due to our expertise, due to our lack of expertise, being teacher, due to our lack of expertise, okay, student gets in serious position. Do you know that? Students gets in serious position because of our lack of expertise. Okay. Why? What we do that? We don't identify such kind of a children. That's why in many lectures I have told you what is teaching. In a one line, I give the answer. Teaching means you don't have to be master in your subject. It is not a teaching. What is teaching? Teaching doesn't mean that you know each and everything about your subject. You are a more qualified person. This is not a teaching. What is a teaching? Teaching means to know your child first, to know the subject first. Subject means child first. Okay. In your class, there are 30 students. You should be able to, know the 30 minds. Okay. What is the growth and development of every student? What is the intelligent level of every student? What they think that, how they think that, what is the learning pattern of those students, right? What is the intelligent level of those students? Okay. Aspirations, attitude of every student. And then, according to that, you have to prepare a lecture. Then, by using all the three domains which we cover in our last lecture, what were the three domains? Cognitive domain, affective domain, cognitive domain. Bloom taxonomy given by the Benjamin Bloom. Okay. So when we prepare such kind of a lecture and present it in the class, so that lecture becomes the very effective. It becomes very effective. Okay. Automatically, retention power of the student would be developed. He will never forget it. Why the student forget your lecture? Because the problem is in your lecture, not in the student. Right? So first, sometime because of we are not perfect. Okay, we don't do the B.Ed and such kind of a course, and we become the teacher and we started teaching into the class. Okay, and if we are praised by one or two students and we think that we are teaching very well to the student, this is all fool paradise, nothing else. Okay, you remain in the fool paradise whole of the life, because the main thing is that without learning the teaching methodology, you cannot effectively teach to the student, right? So basically, due to our lack of expertise, we do not identify the special needs of the student, and sometimes they get on the serious condition after many years because we are not identifying, right? The third is, what is the importance of inclusive education? To provide education to students through various innovative methods of working, keeping in view the learning problem of the children. Okay. Fourth is rehabilitation of physically challenged children. Next, to provide information about the learning problem of the physically challenged children. Next, to provide information about the learning problem of physically challenged children and to prepare group organizations for improvement. Okay. So I think you have come to know about the importance. This is the most important. This is the importance of an inclusive education. We have to identify such kind of a student at a very first stage so that we can provide the cure, solution, remedy to those students. ओके अब हम करते हैं बैरियर्स. बैरियर्स बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, लास्ट टाइम क्वेश्चंस भी आया हुआ है ना. बैरियर्स, you can call it barriers, you can call it obstacles, problems, right? Whatever you can want to give the name related with the problems or barriers. What are the barriers to implement the inclusive education in the class, in the school? Okay, वो देखो पहला ही पॉइंट आ गया यहाँ पे, ओके, विच आई वॉज डिस्कसिंग इन द लास्ट पीपीटी, लैक ऑफ द टीचिंग स्किल्स इन टीचर, राइट? So this is the first barrier, lack of teaching skills in the teacher, lack of a development teaching skills in the teacher, right? ये भी barrier है, this is a barrier because you don't have a such kind of expertise, right? Because you're not B.Ed, you're not undergone through a such kind of a teaching methodology course, okay? You have not studied such kind of a concept, the concept is not clear to you, right? Next, social attitude, it is a general social attitude. Discourage the privileged student. वो देखो, special education student, privileged students, these are synonym, okay? Privileged student or special education student. Discourage the privileged student by creating a societal perception that these people are not able to do anything. है ना? This is a social attitude है हमारा, and we say ourselves कि we are intelligent, we are gentlemen, we are teachers, okay, and we're having such kind of a social attitude. So we have to break such kind of a social attitude, okay? Teacher should be pure from the heart also, right? Wo 3H given by the Mahatma Gandhi, head, hand and heart, right? You have to teach to the student. When you come into the class, when you go into the class, okay, along with your skill, along with your expertise, right? You should having the such kind of, you can say that, in your mind, you have such kind of feeling that you have to provide such education to the student so that student can learn the topic by himself or herself, right? Physical barrier, child who is a physical disabled has a problem in learning and they grab things slower than normal students naturally, okay, but nobody is caring that. And this is a, you can say that, since independence we are ignoring the such kind of a student. So now we are we have come to know that, and even in the new education policy, when you see that, there are many changes, and making the inclusive school, inclusive educations, right? Syllabus also, why we make the syllabus so difficult? Why we make, and why we boast that the concept is the most difficult, only I know that student cannot learn it. What is the meaning of that, right? Why to make a syllabus difficult? Why to make a curriculum difficult? So you have to be, any of the stakeholder, might be teacher, principal, any of the top level management, they have to make the syllabus so simple, they have to make the curriculum so simple so that it should be learned by any kind of a student, okay, having the low IQ, having the high IQ. What is the meaning of that कि ये intelligent है, ये intelligent नहीं है? Science students are intelligent, art students are not intelligent. अरे आर्ट्स में आज तक हिस्टोरियन ही नहीं कोई बेस्ट हुआ है, आप ये देखिए, right? So that's why these all things now, old things are going back, okay, they have obsoleted that, and we are, that's why now there is a need of a new education policy, and according to the new education policy, I have already discussed about it, new education policy, right? So they have done many improvements in the field of education. So syllabus should be, please mute guys, Benita, please mute yourself. एक तो ये लेट आए और उसके बाद, सो सिलेबस है, सिलेबस शुड बी फ्लेक्सिबल, ओके, सो इट शुड बी लर्न बाय एवरी स्टूडेंट, राइट? बैरियर्स टू इंडियन एजुकेशन पॉलिसी, इवन एजुकेशन पॉलिसीज के अंदर भी कितने बैरियर्स हैं ना, यू हैव सीन दैट, राइट? ओके, अब देखो, नाउ वी टॉक अबाउट, सो व्हाट वी हैव डन इट, राइट? वी हैव कम टू नो अबाउट द इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, ओके, व्हाट इज इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन बेसिकली, okay, meaning of inclusive education, concept of inclusive education, right? Then then we talk about the importance of inclusive education, why it is so important. Then we talk about the barriers, problems, obstacles in the way of implementing inclusive education. Now we talk about what are the measures for implementing inclusive education. Okay, means how we have to implement the inclusive education. Few measures for implementing educations. Okay, guys, these all things now, these all the topics. Okay, what is written in your slide, I have taken from the notes. Okay, so it means if you are giving attentions to my lecture, to think that automatically back of the mind your notes are preparing, right? Because these all the important points I have taken from the notes. Okay, my topic, my video lesson matches with the notes, right? That's why I told you that when you see my lecture video lesson, after that see the notes within a 2-3 hours, you will cover your that particular paper, right? Now what are the few measures for implementing inclusive education? Okay, so inclusive education helps the disabled child to develop a sense of pride in their work because they actually feel like they accomplished something. We know that Albert Einstein was a learning disabled. Okay, but still, Albert Einstein having the learning disability, but they still managed to become the greatest mind of the 20th century. Educating children with disability alongside their non-disabled peers is considered one of the better ways to provide educations to populations in India, said by the Shah and Shah, 2005 and to 2014. Right? The government of India needs to bridge the gaps in their education system to build a strong system of inclusive education in the country. So there are following measures for better implementation of inclusive education in India. Right? Means how we can, implement the inclusive education if there is some sort of, you know, flexibility in the education policies. Okay. And these are the measures. You can see that now the point I have underlined now. These are the measures. These are the things by these policies, by these you can say that the government schemes we have, we are working on emphasizing on inclusive education, right? The first is a Right to Education Act. Okay, when this act was made, Right to Education Act, 2010, it was passed in 2010, made in 2009. Okay, so according to the RTE Act, must apply to all citizens of India. RTE Act क्या था आपका पेपर 2 फर्स्ट ईयर में. ओके, कंटेम्परेरी इंडियन एजुकेशन. ये वो भूल गए हो सारे पेपर, उसको लर्न किया करो गाइस, राइट? अब हु इज टीचर? Teacher should be learner first, then he is a teacher. Are you getting my point? Teacher is not a teacher if he or she is not learner first. Right? As said by the Tagore ji, Rabindranath Tagore. Right? So means every time, every day, right? You should have some, 1 hour, 1.5 hour for your development. Okay. If you have something in the mind, na, only then you can teach to your student. If you don't have in your mind to how what you will teach, this is your duty. You have become the teacher. Malab, I give lot of respect of teachers. I think that teacher is the real image of God. Teacher is the real image of Brahma. In my opinion, right? Teacher is a torch bearer to the society. And I strongly feel that due to the teacher, nation develops. The research has shown that teachers play a very important role in the life of the student. Teacher can be your class teacher, college teacher, your parents. Parents can be teacher, right? Your elders, they can also be the teacher. So in our life, now there is a role of the teacher. Think yourself who you are. Who you are. You are the copy of the, okay, if you think that you are a copy of the 3 or 4 persons who have influenced your life more and more, nothing else. तो वो जो 3 और 4 persons हैं, वो आपके teachers हैं. That's why it is said that na keep in a good company, right? So come back to our topic, the right to education. This is a measure Okay, implementing the inclusive education. So under the Right to Education Act, so all the children having the fundamental right to learn the education, right? From the age group of a 6 to 14, primary education, state and central government, preparation of a teacher for rural science educational program. Inclusive education should be flexible and must be reflected in the methods and material used to give these students. A school-based support team should be developed. Decision making concerning their child. तो ये सारे के सारे measures are already written in your notes, okay, in detail, right, guys? Here I have cleared the concept to you, right? In front of you, I have cleared the concept. ये सारे के सारे वो measures हैं, okay? Okay. अब अपन next आते हैं the most important topic, models of inclusion. Right? Models. This is the most important. Long question would come. Sometime short question also comes. Models. These are the name of the model. You have to learn it. Okay. So under the topic of models of inclusion, okay, we'll understand concept and meaning of models of inclusion and different kind of models. Push-in model, full inclusion model, partial inclusion model, and WALM, Wang's adaptive learning model and team teaching model. Okay. So Richard Wilkinson and Kate wrote, students' performance and behavior in educational tasks can be profoundly affected by the way we feel, we are seen, and judged by others. When we expect to be viewed as inferior, our abilities seems to diminish. Right? So it means when the disabled students are taught with these separate classes, separate schools, they feel the, inferior complexities. Okay. So what happens? Their abilities started decreasing. Okay. So teach to the student in front of in the class. Okay, all kind of a student, even the normal student, disabled student, so any kind of a student, special education students. Okay, so this is called the inclusiveness, right? Inclusion, many names you can give that. Inclusion, inclusiveness, okay, inclusive education, inclusive school. Okay, but meaning is same. Okay, now we talk about the model. Okay, model of inclusion. So first we understand what is the model of inclusion. Inclusive education models, okay, see that inclusive education models are brought into force by educational administrators with the intention of moving away from seclusion, means isolation model of special education to the fullest extent practical. Actually, what was the idea behind the model of inclusion? The idea being that it is to the social benefit of general education student and special education students alike. Model of inclusion ascertain the collaboration between general and the special education teacher. It indicates the sharing of the responsibility of the needs of all the students by both general and special education teacher. अब guys क्या होता है? Under the model of inclusion, the entry of special education teacher comes. Okay. Models of inclusion में special education teacher की entry आ गई है. Right? जैसे special education students होते हैं, similarly special education teachers भी होते हैं. Okay. And for your information, okay, you are doing the B.Ed in general. Okay, B.Ed also comes in B.Ed in special education also. Okay, so there are very few schools of special educations, B.Ed in special education, but there is a also B.Ed comes in special education stream also. Okay, so under the model of inclusion, there is a need of a one general teacher, which is your classroom teacher, and need of a special education teacher. So wo basically what he does that special education teacher take care of the need of the special education student and he assists the general teachers. Okay. So first we do the push-in model, right? So what is a push-in model? One popular push-in model is collaborative or co-teaching, where the special education teacher instructs side by side with the general classroom teacher and to provide instruction and support to children. Okay. Suppose general teacher is teaching in the class, but in the class there are some special education students. Okay. Some students, they having the different problems. Okay. They are not getting the lecture, clear in their minds. So then side by side special education teacher in the class, पढ़ाता उसके सामने ही है, in the class में दोनों टीचर होते हैं, both teachers are there. Okay. Well, it does not mean make the separate class, separate things. Okay. If there is a extreme problem, so sometimes he can counsel separately. Okay. But mostly, okay, they learn under a single roof. Means there is a need of a special teacher in the same classroom. Okay. Do not, isolate the disabled student. Do not isolate the special education student from the class and make the separate schools and separate classes. Okay. This is not the inclusiveness. Inclusiveness means they will learn. Okay. Special education students, disabled students, physical handicapped student, visually impairment student, hearing impairment students, or having any kind of a problem, okay, learning disorders, they will learn under a same roof with the same teacher. If they having the problem, this is the responsibility of the school to hire special educator in order to teach the special education students. Okay. और उस मॉडल का नाम है पुश इन मॉडल. What happens under the push in model? Under the push in model, special education teacher instructs the student side by side with the general classroom teacher. Next paragraph देखिए. With this approach, the general education teacher and the special education teacher work together in the close collaboration. The focus is to ensure students and receiving full access to the general education curriculum while limiting any disruptions to their daily schedule, such as pulling students out of the classroom. Right? So, ये first the push-in model. Second, a full inclusion model. So, what is the full inclusion model? अब देखो ये पढ़ो, this is the most important, guys. What is the full inclusion model? देखो, the first line say, schools that practice full inclusion will teach all children regardless of learning disorder. ये है, this is, you can say that, success of the school. Okay. These things. Schools that practice full inclusion will teach all children regardless of their learning disorders in a standard classroom from the time and the student enrolls. If the special needs child performs and functions according to the expectations, full inclusion may prove to be a viable long-term option. However, if full inclusion does not meet the student's need, special education teacher may visit the classroom periodically to provide supplement instructions. Okay, देखो वही बात आ गई ना, right? If the general teacher cannot teach to the special education students, then school would hire the special education teacher and periodically he will visit the class and provide the instructions to the special education students. If the student continue to experience difficulty, the school may switch to a partial inclusion model. ओके तो सो इस चीज की समझ होनी चाहिए, ठीक है, टीचर्स के लिए भी, राइट? इफ यू हैविंग द नॉलेज ऑफ दिस, दैट्स व्हाई ना गाइस यू कैन टीच टू द स्टूडेंट्स. हमने पढ़ा था ना अंडर द बैरियर्स ऑफ इंप्लीमेंटिंग द इंक्लूजन मॉडल बिकॉज ऑफ a lack of expertise. नेक्स्ट आ गया, थर्ड इज पार्शियल इंक्लूजन मॉडल. Though the partial inclusion model emphasizes allowing special needs students to interact with their peers socially and academically, it does not require that the student remain in the standard classroom for all the lessons. In many cases, partial आ गया ना, partial में in many cases student will meet with a special education teacher or speech therapist in a separate class. मैंने बताया ना, if there is extreme problem, then he can meet the, in a separate class to avoid disrupting the learning dynamic of the standard classroom. Okay, because there is a, in a deep problem, right, extreme problem, right, special education teachers will remain in communication with the regular teacher to ensure students are able to understand and complete. Okay, because वो special education teacher है, he will ask from the general teacher ना, because students are in the class of the general teacher. So guys, it means if you have a 30 students in the class, so they are in your custody whole of the year. So this is your responsibility, right? So take responsibility of the students. This is a work of the teacher, right? You have to make, their students, academically good. Okay. You don't have to say they have got a very less marks. He's in, he's not well, and he's a very, weak student. Okay. Such kind of a terminology teacher cannot use. How the teacher can use such kind of a terminology? Okay. If the doctor will start saying that he cannot do the, such kind of a problem, okay, so where the patient would go? So this is the responsibility of the teacher, and this is called the teaching basically. Have you got it? Teaching does not mean, see from the book and putting into the mind of the student, okay, and clear your concept, okay. So this is not a teaching. Student's mind is not a dustbin. You don't have to make the student Robert. Okay, student having the emotions, feelings, right, cognitive abilities, psychomotor abilities. You have to work on all the aspect of development of the student, so that there should be a harmonious development in the student, right? Next आ गया वैंग एडेप्टिव लर्निंग एनवायरमेंट मॉडल. ये देखो, ये पढ़ो, बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, right? Adaptive learning environment model. One of the most multifaceted program to integrate special education student into the classroom is Wang's. Wang, name of the person, adaptive learning environment model. This model was designed to create school learning environment in which all the student can learn basic academic skills and increase their confidence in their ability to cope with the social and intellectual demand of the school. In this model, technology based. You know what is the new in this model? In this model, technology based adaptive learning system or e-learning system can provide students with immediate assistance, resources specific to their learning needs, and relevant feedback that student may need. Right, guys? Last आ गया team teaching model. Okay, so under the team teaching model is also called the collaborative teaching or co-teaching strategy. ये सारी आपने की थी टीचिंग स्ट्रेटजीज इन योर सेकंड पेपर ऑफ B.Ed फर्स्ट ईयर. ओके, अंडर द टीचिंग स्ट्रेटजीज, कोलैबोरेटिव लर्निंग, कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग, पीयर ट्यूटोरिंग, ये सारा वही हो रहा है. Team teaching is also called the collaborative teaching or co-teaching strategy. It is used for different subjects, especially in the middle grades, with the help of a different teaching methods. To provide support environment, there are teams of 2 or 4 teachers working collaboratively to prepare lessons plan. अब 2 और 4 टीचर्स हो गए, वो कोलैबोरेट वर्क होके लेसन प्लान बनाते हैं. तो व्हाट आर द बेनिफिट्स ऑफ ए टीम टीचिंग? Create effective fun learning. Teachers can use their knowledge effectively together. Keeps co-teacher involved in a class. Allows for shared ideas, including enrichment and differentiation. Breaks up the monotony of one person doing all instruction. Right? So ye sare ke sare, these are the benefits. Okay. So guys, in conclusion, we can say that inclusive education states that a normal student and a differently abled student should get equal opportunity to get the education to meet the special educational needs. Okay. So now we directly go to your notes, okay, which I have shared with you. Okay. So these are your notes. Okay. You can see that questions are in your last year paper. Nature of inclusive education, factor affecting school readiness for school educations. Okay. So directly now I have come to your notes. Okay. Last year paper. So whatever we will do that, we will put as a, red. Okay. Nature of inclusive education, we are done it. Now we will not explain in a very deep way, because we are done in the PPT, right? Nature of inclusive education and factors affecting school readiness for inclusive education, right? So side by side, we open the second file also, okay, of your last year paper. Ye dekho, this is your last year paper na? Okay. So now we are discussing your last year paper. So under your last year paper, okay, compulsory questions, two compulsory questions came. What are the questions? Okay, please read the questions. Kya hai questions? Nature of inclusive education. One question has come. Second has come. Factors affecting the school readiness for inclusive educations. Okay, right? And now see in your notes. So these are your notes. Okay. Nature of inclusive education, I think there is no need to discuss. Okay. Because we have discussed in the PPT. Okay. What are the natures? Okay. वो सारा का सारा inclusive education आ गया, right? Nature of inclusive education, right? अब second question है, right? Factors affecting school readiness for inclusive education. इसका meaning क्या हुआ? So that's why I told you that, okay, I have explained you, okay, you have to learn the question once, twice, thrice, okay. So first of all, you will come to know that what the examiner wants to ask from you, then you can elaborate yourself, elaborate the answer. अब इसका मीनिंग है कि भाई फैक्टर अफेक्टिंग स्कूल रेडीनेस फॉर इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, ओके, कि वो कौन से, व्हाट आर द फैक्टर्स which are influencing the schools in order to implement the inclusive education. So those points you have to write. Basically, it is talking about the barriers, right? तो ये देखो, ये स्कूल रेडीनेस के ऊपर हैं सारे फैक्टर्स अफेक्टिंग द स्कूल रेडीनेस फॉर इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन. Availability and accessibility of school, guiding philosophy and policies, infrastructure. अब स्कूल का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ही नहीं है. School doesn't having the ramp for the handicapped students. School doesn't having the devices, FM frequency modulations जो होती हैं, devices होती हैं, ear है ना, for visually के लिए. School doesn't have such kind of a thing. Infrastructure ही नहीं है स्कूल के पास, right? तो this is the problem. यही क्वेश्चन था हमारा, right? Factors affecting the school readiness for inclusive education. Factors affecting, कौन से factors हैं which affects the school readiness for implementing inclusive education. Availability of a support resources, वो देखो, right? Barriers में आ गए ना ये. Evaluation system, वो भी नहीं है better schools के पास. Hence, ये देखो लास्ट में ये conclude करना होता है आपको. Hence, inclusive school readiness is important for all the children, but it is especially important for children with special needs. When children with special needs are included in general education classroom, they have the opportunity to learn and grow alongside their peers. This can help them to develop academic skills, social skill and self-confidence. Okay? So ऐसे आपको conclude करना है कि there is a need of, okay? अब हमने फैक्टर्स पहले डिस्कस कर लिए. दीज आर द प्रॉब्लम्स बिकॉज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है, स्कूल की पॉलिसीज नहीं है, गाइडिंग्स फिलोसफी है, एक्सेसिबिलिटी ऑफ द स्कूल है, स्कूल ही दूर है फॉर एग्जांपल, ओके, स्कूल इज फार अवे, हाउ द डिसेबल्ड स्टूडेंट्स कैन गो, है ना, देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम ऑफ ए ट्रांसपोर्ट फैसिलिटी. ओके, ये सारा यू हैव टू डिफाइन अंडर दिस. ओके, तो ये दो क्वेश्चन हो गए हमारे, राइट गाइस? ओके, नेक्स्ट है अंडर द यूनिट 1, द क्वेश्चन हैज कम. देखो मॉडल्स पे आ गया ना. एक्सप्लेन डिफरेंट मॉडल्स ऑफ इंक्लूसिव. ओके, एक्सप्लेन डिफरेंट मॉडल्स ऑफ इंक्लूसिव. ये देखो, ये क्वेश्चन आया ना लास्ट टाइम. एक्सप्लेन डिफरेंट मॉडल्स ऑफ इंक्लूसिव. व्हाट आर द बैरियर्स responsible for successful implementation of these models. Okay, so first you have to talk about models. What is the meaning of a model of inclusion? Okay, then what are the barriers responsible for successful implementation of these models? तो वो क्या क्या हैं सारे के सारे बैरियर्स क्या हैं। तो ये देखो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन आ गया आपका, मीनिंग ऑफ इंक्लूसिव, ये थर्ड भी मैंने डिफाइन किया हुआ है इनफैक्ट। ओके, मीन्स ये जो मैं विच आई प्रोवाइड द पीडीएफ फाइल ना, इट कवर्स द लास्ट ईयर पेपर अलॉन्ग विद द नोट्स आल्सो विच कवर्स योर होल सिलेबस, राइट गाइस। सो इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन के ऊपर ये देखो नोट्स बना हुआ है, राइट, बट आई हैव डिस्कस इन द पीपीटी। ओके, तो देर इज नो नीड। ये आ गया क्वेश्चन हमारा, एक्सप्लेन डिफरेंट मॉडल्स ऑफ इंक्लूसिव। तो आपको ये देखना है, ये देखो, ये दिस इज द इंपॉर्टेंट। पहले गाइस यहाँ पे देखो, ये है ना लास्ट ईयर पेपर आपका। ओके, लास्ट ईयर पेपर, पेपर 10। ओके, यूनिट 1 का क्वेश्चंस क्या है, पढ़ो क्वेश्चंस को। एक्सप्लेन डिफरेंट मॉडल ऑफ इंक्लूसिव, व्हाट आर द बैरियर्स। अब डू यू नो व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट? द इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट, यू हैव टू सी द नंबर आल्सो। अब ये मार्क्स देखो क्या दिया हुआ है, 10 नंबर तो दिए हुए हैं फॉर द मॉडल्स। अब 7 पेजेस यू हैव टू फिल, so in the 7 pages, at least 4 pages, you have to talk about models of inclusive. Got it? Rest of the 6 नंबर में आप 2 ढाई 3 पेज में you can talk about the barriers. Right? So, this is our exam preparation class also. Okay, strategies we are also discussing in this class. तो ये 10 नंबर तो मॉडल्स के ऊपर ही आ गए हैं, चाहे ये छोटा सा लिखा हुआ है। तो अब हेयर यू हैव टू टॉक अबाउट डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ मॉडल्स, वही सारे पुश इन मॉडल, राइट, फुल, ठीक है, पार्शियल मॉडल, ओके, वैंग मॉडल, राइट, टीम टीचिंग मॉडल, तो वो सारे डिफाइन करने हैं आपको। ओके, ये देखिए यहाँ पे अब आ गया, ये मॉडल्स की बात आ गई, राइट। ये देखो मॉडल ऑफ इंक्लूजन्स, तो ये देखो वैंग एडेप्टिव लर्निंग एनवायरनमेंट मॉडल, ओके, सिस्टमेटिक अप्रोच फॉर अडॉप्टिंग द लर्निंग एनवायरनमेंट मॉडल, टीम टीचिंग मॉडल, है ना, ये सारे ये डिस्कस कर लिए हमने। मैक्सिमम वी आर डिस्कस्ड इन दी पीपीटी। कंसेप्चुअल मॉडल, स्ट्रेटेजी इंटरवेंशंस मॉडल, ये देखो फुल इंक्लूजन मॉडल, है ना, वी डिस्कस्ड। फुल आउट मॉडल, नॉन एकेडमिक सेल्फ, ये मॉडल आपको डिस्कस करने हैं। देन यू हैव टू टॉक अबाउट व्हाट आर द बैरियर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर सक्सेसफुल इंप्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ दीज मॉडल्स। वही बैरियर्स आ गए जो वी टॉक्ड अबाउट, है ना, लैक ऑफ टीचिंग स्किल्स इन द टीचर, ये देखो सोशल एटीट्यूड, फिजिकल बैरियर, सिलेबस, है ना, ऑल डिस्कस, मतलब मींस मेनी पॉइंट्स वी हैव डिस्कस इन द पीपीटी। मींस कंसेप्ट इज क्लियर टू यू कि अंडर द बैरियर्स वी हैव टू टॉक अबाउट द प्रॉब्लम्स, है ना, व्हिच आर हिंडरिंग द टू इंप्लीमेंट द इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, राइट। ओके, नेक्स्ट आ जाओ क्वेश्चन आपका, डिफाइन द कंसेप्ट ऑफ ए हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट। ये देखो थर्ड क्वेश्चन, डिफाइन द कंसेप्ट ऑफ हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट। Okay, now it is readable to all of you. Okay, ये देखो थर्ड क्वेश्चन आया लास्ट टाइम, डिफाइन द कंसेप्ट ऑफ ए हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट, डिस्कस द स्पेशल एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम्स रिक्वायर्ड टू सच काइंड ऑफ ए चिल्ड्रन विद सुटेबल एग्जांपल। कितना इजी क्वेश्चन आया देखो। ओके, तो व्हेन द कंसेप्ट वाज नॉट क्लियर टू यू, है ना, वो लग रहा था कि इट वाज डिफिकल्ट, नाउ ये देखो इट इज ए वेरी इजी। तो यू हैव टू टॉक अबाउट हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट, कौन कौन सा होता है कंसेप्ट ऑफ ए हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट, राइट। देन यू हैव टू टॉक अबाउट जो स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं हैविंग द हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट, ओके, उनको विच टाइप ऑफ एजुकेशनल प्रोग्राम्स नीडेड। कुछ भी नहीं है, इट इज ए वेरी सिंपल। ये देखो फर्स्ट डिफाइन करो हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट। ओके, बिफोर स्टार्टिंग द कंसेप्ट ऑफ ए हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट, यू हैव टू टॉक अबाउट हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट। बेसिकली एक प्रॉब्लम है रिलेटेड विद द हियरिंग, ओके, उसके सुनने के से। हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट डज नॉट मीन द यू नो कि भाई ये स्टूडेंट है, ही कैन नॉट लिसन, ठीक है, इसका डेफनेस नहीं है। ओके, इट डज नॉट मीन कि स्टूडेंट इज हैविंग द यू नो ये देखो हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट इज द, ये पढ़ लो एक लाइन चलो, हियरिंग इंपेयरमेंट इज द इनएबिलिटी ऑफ एन इंडिविजुअल to hear sounds adequately, inability to hear sounds adequately. This may be due to improper development, damage, or disease to any part of the hearing mechanism. So guys, we don't identify basically being teacher, being parents. तो क्या होता है, what happens after some time, वो problem that has increased, so we are the persons to creating that kind of a problem, and we think that कि भाई he is a deaf. Hearing is prerequisite for the development of a normal speech and language. A child learns to speak by hearing the speech of others in family of surrounding. Hearing impairments can be caused by the following reason. It can be a genetic factors, infections हो सकता है, right? Premature birth, childhood infections, head trauma after birth. So there are a lot of problems, ठीक है? ये तो प्रेगनेंसी के थ्रू भी बताया गया, infections during pregnancy. So such type of a things happens. So student having the hearing impairment, but hearing impairment and deafness are not necessarily the same thing. Hearing loss, ये greater than 90 decibel is generally categorized as a deafness. Okay. So hearing, ये आपने बता देना hearing impairment क्या होता है. फिर then if the student having the hearing impairment, second question था ना, उसके साथ ही along with that, what are the special education programs required for such kind of a children with suitable example? तो ये है, ये under this आपको you have to talk about classroom equipment, designating a note taker, right? वो special educator आ गया, seating changes, use an FM system, okay, face students, dedicated staff. So that is the responsibility of this school to appoint such kind of a staff, because student having the hearing impairment, teaching, meet with parents regularly, minimize background noises, integrate visual aids in teaching. During teaching, school should have a visual aids, because student or the hearing है ना, जो भी है उससे related, whatever the problem student has, make maximum use of available technologies. अब आजकल तो there are a lot of technologies है ना, has come. So school should have such kind of a technology, such kind of a lab technology. This lab is called the technology lab. And whenever you start your school, when the IC member comes, they also inspect the, do you have this technology lab or not? And they check the such kind of a, equipments. If you don't have the technology lab, so you don't get the affiliation. Create awareness as well. ये देखो, ये important point है साथ में, ठीक है? 2 points I have shared. As well, teacher can also support children with a hearing impairment. Why? Because there are also ways in which a teacher can prevent bullying. Raising awareness in the school, foster a sense of a community in the classroom, be aware of the gateway behavior and nip them in the bud. मतलब शुरू में ही उसको कर लेना, ये एक वो फ्रेज है, राइट? Nip them in the bud, राइट? अब फोर्थ आ गया हमारा क्वेश्चन, थर्ड भी हो गया हमारा, राइट गाइस? फोर्थ है, डिस्क्राइब कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग स्ट्रेटजीज फॉर इंक्लूसिव सेटिंग. What are the cooperative learning strategies? Okay, as teaching strategies for inclusive setting, cooperative learning. तो ये देखो, ये फोर्थ क्वेश्चन है आपका, राइट? नोट्स के अकॉर्डिंग, डिस्क्राइब कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग स्ट्रेटेजी एज ए टीचिंग स्ट्रेटेजी फॉर इंक्लूसिव सेटिंग. अब कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग आपको पता होना चाहिए, तो यू कैन इजिली डिफाइन अबाउट कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग क्या होता है. देयर आर सेवरल बेनिफिट ऑफ द कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग स्ट्रक्चर फॉर स्टूडेंट विद डिसेबिलिटीज. Students with disabilities are more engaged in the classroom activities where cooperative learning structure are in place compared to more traditional classroom intervention. Specifically, in inclusive classes that uses the cooperative learning, students articulate their thoughts more freely, receive confirming and constructive feedback, engage in questioning technique, receive additional practice on skills, and have increased opportunity to respond. Malab, they work together, okay? As the cooperative word is given, cooperative learning. They work together, they share their feelings, okay? Receive informations, get information, engage in questioning techniques. ये सारा का सारा होता है. तो this is called the inclusive classes that uses cooperative learning, right? Cooperative learning is an educational approach which aims to organize classroom activities into the academic and social learning experiences. Have you taught to the students with cooperative learning? Have you taught to the students with collaborative learning, peer tutoring, debates, math? There are so many methods. Assessment, evaluation जो हमने last time किया था. So you should be aware of that. आप तो you are simply teaching and coming in the class, see the topic, putting in the mind of the student, you think that this is a teaching. This is not teaching, my dear friends. Right? ये देखो, that's why it is called teaching is not everybody's cup of tea. Without doing the B.Ed or such kind of a educational course, teaching methodology course, you cannot teach effectively to the student. Without this, without having the knowledge of this, okay, when you teach to the student, so basically, guys, you are cheating the student. You are not teaching. Right? Because kahin na kahin par, okay, matlab you are, you can say that creating the problem. For example, you don't know the skill in teaching and you come directly in the class and say that today I will teach about the noun, because you didn't start, you didn't brainstorming, you didn't ask the questions from the student, and then you are the responsible for killing the reasoning power of the student. The critical thinking skills can't develop by the student because of you, because you don't have the appropriate teaching methodology knowledge. All right. And in every classes, you are giving such kind of a teaching to the student. So student couldn't develop the critical thinking skill. Student could not develop the reasoning skills because you never motivated the student or you never stimulated the student. Getting? So cooperative learning, right? So benefits of the cooperative learning as a strategy for inclusive setting. यही था ना क्वेश्चन जमीन हमारा. What are the benefits of a cooperative learning as a strategy for inclusive setting? Enhanced academic achievement. ये देखो. When you start coaching, teaching to the student with cooperative, it enhances the academic achievement, improved social skills. Guys, you are not teaching to the student with cooperative learning, with the collaborative learning, because you are not aware of a such kind of method, you are not aware of a such kind of a teaching strategies. They cannot become the social. They cannot develop the social skills. Right? So cooperative learning, collaborative learning improves the social skills, increased motivation, enhancing critical thinking and problem solving skills. ये देखो. Right? Fostering teamwork and communication. Benefits of a diverse learning styles and abilities. Enhancing communication skill. Student can't develop the communication skill because of your poor performance. Your means teacher's poor performance. Okay. Cultivation of a leadership skill. Development of a conflict resolution skills. Increase retention of information. ये देखो. Means if you don't, provide the lessons by using all the domain of learning, he cannot increase the retention of information. And if you having the knowledge, you start teaching to them with using these all the domains of learning, right? And using the cooperative learning skills, guys, it increases retention of information. Agar student, if student forgets within a limited period of a time, again, it is a mistake of the teacher, not the student. Because you are not teaching from that way. They cannot retain the information. Getting? That's why B.Ed or M.Ed is most important, right? In the teaching field, to become a teacher. Increased engagement in learning. Foreign में मालूम है क्या होता है इन्हें foreign? Foreign में those have appointed as a teacher ना, after 6 months, okay, they have to undergo a one teaching test. By India में क्या होता है? If the teacher has become the teacher, okay, the whole of the life there is a no test for the teacher, right? But in Canada, America, there is a test given by the teacher, okay, who is teaching to the student either privately or either on the government job, right? But India mein teacher is teaching from old methods to the students, okay? So even वो student था वो he can become the intelligent, but because of the teacher's poor performance, he remains weak. Preparation for real world collaborations, long term impact on students academic and personal development, increase employee work engagement, boosted self esteem and confidence. बच्चे का सेल्फ एस्टीम कॉन्फिडेंस क्यों नहीं बन सका? बिकॉज टीचिंग वाज नॉट गुड. पर्सनलाइज्ड लर्निंग एक्सपीरियंस, तो सारा ये कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग के हैं सारे के सारे बेनिफिट्स, राइट गाइस? फिफ्थ क्वेश्चन है गाइस, ये आपने बुक में से करना है, ठीक है? इट इज गिवन, ओके, मैंने एक्सप्लेन भी कर दिया था, ये देखो. डिटेल नोट ऑन द रोल ऑफ जनरल क्लास टीचर एंड रिसोर्स टीचर इन इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, ओके, पीपीटी में वी हैव डिस्कस्ड, राइट? तो ये लास्ट पेपर हमारा फुल वी हैव डिस्कस्ड, राइट? ऑल दी 4 or 2 6 questions, okay? अब now we come back to the notes. ये देखो notes में when starting में around 36 pages I have sold last year paper. After that additional and important questions from last year papers, ठीक है? तो कुछ questions मतलब I have made for you, right? You have also learned, discuss the concept and importance of inclusive education, okay? So we have also discussed in the PPT, so I have defined in the notes very well, very effectively, right? एक क्वेश्चन और है जो लास्ट ईयर में आया हुआ था. डिफाइन द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ ए इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, डिस्कस बैरियर्स, मेजर प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ ए इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, आल्सो डिफाइन फ्यू मेजर फॉर इंप्लीमेंटिंग इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन. तीनों चीजें वी आर डन इन द पीपीटी. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज आस्किंग अबाउट इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, सेकंड बैरियर, थर्ड few measure for implementing inclusive education, right? So from that way I have defined that, right guys? ये देखिए, okay. Third question is describe the strategies for creating conducive environment in inclusive school, all right? अब this is a responsibility of the teacher to create such type of a conducive environment so that every kind of a student could take the benefit. ये देखो स्ट्रेटेजीज क्या है? क्रिएटिंग कंड्यूसिव एनवायरनमेंट, एकेडमिक सपोर्ट, गेट टू नो यूर स्टूडेंट, लेट देम गेट टू नो यू. क्या बात है, ये देखो, ऑलवेज मैं कहता होता ना आपको, गेट टू नो यूर स्टूडेंट फर्स्ट एंड लेट देम गेट टू नो यू. क्रिएट ए सेफ स्पेस फॉर स्टूडेंट टू शेयर, क्रिएट ए क्लासरूम दैट encourages interaction, create a respectful school community, create a space for discussion. Okay, do not dominate the student. Let the student ask the question. Develop a scaffolded approach to learning. Scaffolding meaning होता है support, ठीक है? So that student can access the same learning, ठीक है? ये define किया हुआ है. Provide support that benefits all children in your class. ये होता है conducive class, मतलब democratic kind of class, not the authoritarian class, right? Your style should not be authoritarian, your style should be the democratic conducive environment होना चाहिए. Create a calm purposeful learning environment, use pre-assessment to inform your planning, let children choose how to show what they have learned, right? एक क्वेश्चन और बनाया है, रोल ऑफ ए टीचर इन क्रिएटिंग एंड सस्टेनिंग इंक्लूसिव प्रैक्टिसेस, तो ये भी उसी से रिलेटेड ही है, ठीक है? मीन्स वो देखो, डेवलपिंग पॉजिटिव एटीट्यूड, मॉडिफिकेशंस ऑफ करिकुलम, राइट? फोर्थ क्वेश्चंस. और फिर है द रोल एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ टीचर इन इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन, राइट? ये सेकंड यूनिट में से आ गया क्वेश्चंस, बिकॉज मैंने आपको आई हैव टोल्ड यू ना कि माय नोट्स इज कवरिंग लास्ट ईयर पेपर एज वेल एज रिमेनिंग ऑफ सिलेबस, इट इज आल्सो कवरिंग. और ये फिफ्थ क्वेश्चन एक बनाया है, ब्रीफली डिस्कस वेरियस इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन मॉडल, तो ये तो ऑलरेडी यू आर डन है ना, वेरियस इंक्लूसिव मॉडल्स, इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन मॉडल्स, यू आर डन इट, राइट? उसके बाद अगेन दैट एडिशनल नोट्स हैं, अंडर द एडिशनल नोट्स, ओके, यू कैन सी दैट गाइस, राइट? तो हमारा ये सारा का सारा we are done with, last year paper and the remaining notes also. Okay. ये SSA का भी एक आया हुआ है तो वो भी इसमें डिफाइन है, right guys? So in last, we can say that inclusive education states that a normal student and differently able student should get the equal opportunity to get the education to meet the special educational needs. Right? So this is all about your paper inclusive education. Right, guys? Paper 10 है inclusive education. 40 marks का paper है, 1.5 hour है. Right? So we are discuss each and everything. Thank you so much, guys, for this class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
guys. Thanks to all of
Thank you
you.
so much, sir.
Okay, ji.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much, sir.
Thank
Okay,
you.
ji. Thank you.
Thank you.